What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Let's Talk. I am Pickle, and um, this is gonna be a different one. Um, I had some friends at work try and just be up my ass to go and watch The Last Jedi, and um, I'm recording this before I went to bed the day after, not the night of. So it's still fresh in my head, and I wanted to give you guys what I thought because I I went and saw it with my nephew, and he and I both had the exact same thoughts on it. And I'm going to warn you now. I am going to just unleash. I'm not going to hold back any spoilers. I'm not going to talk cryptically. I'm going to be talking very matter of factly. So if you still haven't seen it, because I mean, it took me over a month after it was released to go see it. If you still haven't seen it, stop this video now and then start it back up again once you've actually watched it. Uh, that being said, I have found that there's a great divide among everyone that has seen it. And if you look at the IMDb page, or not the Rotten Tomatoes, the critics said 90% it was great, and it was 49% of the audience or the reviewers scored liked it. And I went into work early today because I still haven't gone to bed yet, and it's pretty early in the morning, hence why I will not be yelling in this video, so you're welcome. um but there's such a divide in the people that saw it. Either you liked it or you didn't, and there's not any you kind of liked it or you kind of hated it. There were some weak parts. Space Leia, that was fucking stupid, and everyone kept saying that I've talked to, they were going, all you had to do, there was so many times you could have written her off and you didn't, and it was just really stupid. But if you know anything about how films are done, they don't start filming the first scene and film all the way down. They'll do it in chunks, and however, like wherever they get time to do that chunk, that's where they do it. So while I agree, whenever Holdo light speed jumps through Snoke's ship, that would have been the perfect way to send her off. But Leia was there at the end talking with Poe and the what little bit of resistance there was. So they already had that filmed, and they're going, well, I mean, Carrie Fisher's gone now. There's nothing we could do about it. But that being said, we don't want to just oust her parts because you're talking complete and total reshoots or trying to pull her out of it or CGI erase her or something. And that would be doing Carrie Fisher a disservice, because her Hollywood career, I think, started and ended with Star Wars. And I was okay with how they did what they did, simply because it was respectful for Carrie Fisher's memory for them to keep going. Um, I hated the porgs. The one little scene where Chewie's getting ready to eat one, and they're oh, oh, that was okay. I was perfectly fine with that just being the end of it. But then they went and they baby Grooted the whole goddamn thing, and it pissed me off. Whenever Chewie's flying the Millennium Falcon, you see one of the little dudes just on the console. I hated that part because that's them forcing that shit down your fucking throat, and I thought it was just insanely stupid. And it was Baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. and it pissed me off, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I was like, these things can fuck off and die. And I'd be perfectly okay with that because it's pissing me off. Everyone's talking about how the bombing scene in the very beginning, the bombs wouldn't have just fallen out of that. There's space that needed to be pushed. Just there's no gravity. It's not creating gravity, and it's not doing stuff that need to be pushed. If that's the kind of arguments you go towards, you don't really have much of a leg to stand on. You're just bitching to bitch. You're just nitpicking. This was wrong, and 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 this was wrong. And that's all you're doing. You're just picking out everything that you hated, and you're going, look, this is here. It's no different than when the motherfuckers are throwing them goddamn cute little fuckers at you, and it just being obnoxious. That's what you're doing if you are just being one of those nitpickers. The argument I had with someone at work: how does Rey going from never having flown anything to hopping in the Millennium Falcon, granted this is in Force Awakens, and just being this amazing pilot? It's not like she didn't have knowledge of ships. If you remember the first time we're introduced to Rey, she's climbed up inside of a Star Destroyer, pulling out very specific pieces, so she is familiar with how it's done. It's just she hasn't put it to practice. I think there was an episode of Bones where this kid had black and white stones under his bed, and there were 88 of them, and he would fashion himself a piano and he would practice just playing the piano. He couldn't hear it because it was just stones, but he would practice it, and whenever he got the chance to play, he would play. There are pieces that you can kind of say the Force helped kind of tie some of that together. She goes, now you're stretching, or you're reaching. Well, yeah, but I don't think you're reaching far enough. The cinematography in The Last Jedi, I felt, made this the best episodic Star Wars movie they have ever created. I probably waited way too long in this video to tell you what I thought of it, but that's what I think. Episodically, and I mean 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we'll even throw in 1, 2, and 3, even though we really don't want to. But out of all 8 movies that have been made for the Star Wars chain, this is the best one. Simply because the cinematography puts it up and over Empire. There's such a small gap between Empire and Last Jedi. For me, you can't even squeeze an air molecule in there. That's how close I think they are. And I think a lot of people, and I eventually worked this out with some of my coworkers, that they went in with very high expectations. Like, you have so much stuff that you need to do, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and their expectations were not met, which means that you put expectations on a movie you hadn't seen yet just to kind of get an idea. You didn't go in with sort of a blank slate. I went and I saw The Force Awakens, and the only thing I said was, give me a better actual movie than the fucking first 3 pieces of shit. That's all I want. And I got that. I didn't like the Starkiller base. I didn't like it was a complete regurgitation, but it was different at the same time. But some of the different stuff they did was okay. And J.J. Abrams has this whole thing of, people love questions. Give them questions. And, well, a couple, yes. Give us a couple questions. And the questions that a lot of us had was, who's Rey's parents? Where did she come from? And it was very, very quickly and just nonchalantly mentioned in The Last Jedi of Rey's parents were junkies. They sold her for a hit. And then when their debts were racking up, they took off. He even said, you came from nothing. You are nothing. You have nothing. So why not, do some good shit with me or whatever? He said something, and when he said this during The Last Jedi, my entire thought process for the entire movie started to shift because I didn't like some of it. Some of it I just felt was forced. It was just kind of dumb. But when he said, "You need to let go of the past. You need to kill it," I felt that was just as much for Ray as it was for those of us watching the movie. When he said that line, it was, you moviegoers need to let go of everything that you come to expect of Star Wars because we're going to take you on a ride that you're not expecting. And a lot of people got really pissed because, well, it's important where she came from. No, it's not. It's not. Even Daisy Ridley said in an interview, because once I got done watching the movie, you bet your motherfucking ass I went and I looked some shit up. Daisy Ridley had said, I don't understand why people are so obsessed about where we've come from and not where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going. And it started to click to me that this is part of that different cinema than what we're used to. And I used the movie Inception as a great little link to just kind of underline the shit of what I'm talking about. If you've seen the movie Inception, again, spoilers, just letting you know now, whenever he spins the top at the very end and then he goes off to go see his kids, which is all he wanted to do, was just he wanted to see his kids. He finally gets a chance to see his kids. And the camera goes from where he is and just slowly pans down to where the top is. And the top is, which we all know when you spin a top, you eventually get to the point to where it's going to start to wobble like that and then fall over, which meant if it fell over, he was in the real world. And people were so pissed off that you couldn't just tell us. Just tell us. Tell us. We need to know. Tell us. And Christopher Nolan had to say numerous times, you guys are paying attention to the wrong part. It's not whether or not he's in a dream or he's in reality. That doesn't matter. To him, he gets to see his kids, period. That is all he wanted to do. He finally gets to do it. In his head, he doesn't care if he's sleeping away the rest of his life, because in that moment, he's with his kids. He's going to hold on to that moment for as long as he can. And if he's dreaming, you can bet your ass he don't want to wake up because he's with his kids. If it's reality, doesn't matter. He's still with his kids. And we got so caught up in did the top fall over or not, that we didn't pay attention to what the movie was telling us. And that's where I felt a lot of things went just by the wayside for people, because they're like, I need this answer. Or how people were pissed off that Snoke was just a nothing. Like, well, once again, they make a bad guy and they make him out to be all this great and wonderful shit, and he's just useless. Like, no, he's not. He was intricate to tell a story. If you look at The Force Awakens and you pay attention to his demeanor in there, he's just wild, reckless, loose, everything. And Snoke is trying to keep him on a chain. Like a dog. Very much like a dog. And he's just, you need to chill out and all this other kind of shit or whatever. And he's just constantly reeling him back, and he's going and he's taking care of Hux, which his whole purpose, as Alec helped me realize, is just he's the whipping boy. He's the scapegoat. Anytime you want to just have a welcome mat, Hux is there, and that's what he is. And it kind of sucks because I actually like his character. Anyway, when in the Last Jedi, when Snoke says that he creates that link between Kylo and Rey, it's to turn Rey, but to give Rey enough hope that she can turn Kylo. And he even sits there in the throne room, which is a brilliant scene, by the way. He sits there and he tells Kylo, or tells her, that he sees Kylo's mind. He sees everything that's going on in there. Yet Kylo had a little compartment back here to where he didn't see that, he's turning the lightsaber, because that's what he was doing. Everything he was doing physically, he was doing with the Force so as to mask it. And he knew that he could not take out Snoke without someone's help. And that's what Kylo's whole plan with Rey was. I'm going to get you to think that you can turn me. There is conflict. And I'm going to use that to get Snoke's defenses down to take him out. That was his whole plan all along. Because you mean to tell me you would actually like the Kylo Ren character more if he was just a complete and total evil cunt right from the get-go? No, you wouldn't have. So when he took out Snoke, which was fucking badass, and the continuity whenever Hux gets in there and the torso falls over and the left arm still sitting on the chair was brilliant. I pay attention to little shit like that thanks to CinemaSins. But it also gives me insight to where that was his whole plan. It was his whole plan, Kylo Ren's plan all along. So that darkness that Luke saw, that he dismissed, and that he said he saw in Rey, scared him, and he just didn't do anything about it or whatever. And then when it came to Rey, he was scared of it now, and he's done with it. There's so much depth in this movie. There's so much good shit. The fact that you just for a second see that Rey actually took all of the Jedi texts out of the tree before Yoda set it on fire. At some point, we never saw it. It was eventually in there, but nobody sat there and said, well, we didn't see her take the books out of the tree, so then how does she get the books out of the tree? It's American cinema. In American cinema, we have this mindset of, you need to tell me everything so I can enjoy this. But The Last Jedi told you a lot. A couple of people at work, well, they left you with more questions. No, it didn't. It gave me more answers in that movie than I got from Force Awakens, where J.J. Abrams was saying, you need to give people questions. They love the questions. No, we don't. We don't mind a couple of them, but god damn it, knock it off. You're pissing us off. The scene where Holdo, just takes off in the last Rebel cruiser that they had and just tears a hole through Snoke's ship, the silence that followed that, just the sheer, utter, cold silence of space. It's calm. It's just beautiful, brilliant. When even R2 sat there and pulled out the old Leia thing from A New Hope to try and convince Luke to come back and help him out, there was so many parts where you could tell they are starting to dissolve this new world they're creating from the old one that we all love. And I think that is what pisses people off more than anything. Rose's character was pointless. No, she wasn't. Whenever they're going out there on that planet and the salt mining planet, and she was gonna be like, it's not about killing the ones you hate but saving the ones you love, and then kisses Finn. That was just stupid. No, it wasn't. Because you missed the point. What was happening in that scene? And yeah, they were pretty much going out there on a, at all costs, we need to stop this thing. But then they were going, there's too little of us and there's scrambling fighters, and so we just got to take off. And Millennium Falcon shows in, takes all the fighters away, and then they're like, okay, well, back to where we were. And then they're getting picked off. And one of my coworkers said, did you notice they didn't fire a single shot? Maybe none of the weapons were working. Did you see how rickety them fuckers were? With all the salt that's in the air? How would you even be able... You were lucky to get the engines going. And you're pissed off they didn't fire a shot? That wasn't the point. They were stalling time. That's all they were doing, was stalling time. Why can't you see this? And then Rose is they all turn back. And what were they doing? They were deserting. Just like when you first got introduced to Rose, Finn was trying to desert and she got pissed off and made him stay. So what happens? She's deserting and Finn kept going. Their roles swapped. And that's why the connection between them was actually really kind of brilliant. Because if you didn't remember that Rose had to pull his ass back in after stunning his ass out to then go and be the one who was literally fleeing like he was earlier. And then he didn't exactly do anything other than, I'm just going to keep going. Fuck you guys. Someone has to. He's like, I'm not going to let them win. And they're like, well, Rose's character was pointless. No, she wasn't. In an era where there's mostly white men in movies, you have Wonder Woman, and Rey is Wonder Woman of Star Wars. It would have been so great if she would have joined Kylo or if she could have turned him. It's not going to happen. Because it's too cliche. That's something that we've wanted to see happen. And instead, what ends up happening is the one that turns for a purpose to take out their master. And then Vader dies. Well, okay, now you have the apprentice taking out the master. The apprentice is alive. And if there was another part where Luke says that Ben took a handful of students and slaughtered the rest. Where are these handful of students? Where are they? Why haven't we seen them? Were they hostages? Were they on his side? If they were on his side, there's a potential for 6-on-1 versus Rey. Rey could turn a couple of them, and that'd still give you what you wanted, but it's not that big one. And I would have loved it if they would have had a romance. They don't need any more romance in this shit. It's not about romance. You've got romance now with Finn and Rose. Just be happy with that. And then you have, I'll get to the Luke part next, but then you have Poe's character, which I loved the intro where he goes up there and he's in front of a dreadnought and he's just in a single X-Wing and he goes on and on about wanting to talk to Hux. And then Hux goes on this huge rant about, the First Order and rebellion's going to be crushed and all this other kind of shit. And he makes it sound as if he had just gotten a voice recording for a voicemail. And it was hilarious. And all he was doing, which was pretty much the entire overarching theme of the whole fucking movie, he was stalling for time. And then they finally take it out. They lost every bomber. They had so many losses, and Leia's looking at a computer at one point. She just so when he comes back onto the ship, she smacks him and says, "You're demoted. You can't always play the role of hero. You're gonna get people killed. You need to start playing the role of leader." And that was his whole arcing theme throughout the whole movie. Every time he tried to do something, was shut down. Tried to do something again, shut down. When Holdo sat there and was gonna escort him to a transport ship and just hold him there, he ended up pulling a gun on her and staging a mutiny. Then Leia wakes up and stun blasts his ass, which surprised the shit out of me, because she again was going, you're not thinking like a leader, you're thinking like a hero. Like she told him whenever she smacked him, she said, you can't always get in an X-Wing and blow shit up. And of course, shortly thereafter, he goes, permission to get into an X-Wing and blow stuff up. She goes, permission granted. Those are the hilarious moments that I enjoyed. But then at the very end, whenever they start paying attention to what's going on with Luke and what he's doing, they kind of make notice that all the little crystal animals that they had were nowhere to be found. And he goes, follow me. and looks back, and then everyone else kind of looks back, and everyone else looks back until they look back to Leia, and she goes, "What are you looking at me for? You heard him. Follow him." And it was at that moment that she pretty much gave him her blessing that you are finally acting like a leader. You're trying to help everybody survive a situation rather than run out there and hope that you get shit done, but you could get killed. Because had he listened to her in the beginning and pulled away, there wouldn't have been so small the resistance left that they can fit on the Millennium Falcon comfortably. And that's kind of what she was trying to tell him, is like, you can't take gambles on these lives. He's like, but we got a dreadnought. Yeah, but at what cost? They're going to have more dreadnoughts. We don't have other people. We don't have other ships. They don't have any ships right now other than the Millennium Falcon. So that was his whole thing. And he was originally going to be a character that was just written off in The Force Awakens. Now, to get onto the Luke part. Yes, Luke was a little whiny bitch in some parts, but that's always been Luke's character. Luke's character has always been kind of a whiner. Namely because, I mean, he was adopted. He lived with his aunt and uncle. By the time he got to know who any of his parents are, like, oh yeah, your dad's the most evil motherfucker in the galaxy. Shit. Like, how do you combat that? How do you combat that? How do you get past that? How do you get to the point to where you accept that your dad has gone around and killed a bunch of motherfuckers? Your dad went and did that shit. Now what? I mean, you're gonna have a lot of angst because you're trying to make up for the tarnishment that the Skywalker name had from Darth Vader. Granted, if you only knew Darth Vader, you didn't know about the Skywalker thing. But even still, he was always just kind of on edge. And then people are complaining about his Jedi projection. I had no idea what was going on whenever Luke walks out and he goes, "Stop. Aim every gun we have at that man. Fire." And they're all firing, and he's just screaming more. He wants him dead and gone. He's got to get rid of him. And then finally Hux is just like, "That's enough. I think you got him." And calls off the fire. The smoke clears. Luke walks out completely unfazed and it was brilliant. And then the entire time they're sitting there fighting, Luke never once swung the lightsaber, even though he activated it. And what we find out was that it was a Jedi projection. He wasn't really there. And Kylo was pissed. And he had said, the Resistance is dead. The war is over. There are no more Jedi. And he said every sentence or every word you just said is wrong. The Resistance survives, and it showed them getting off on towards the ship, the Millennium Falcon. The war is just beginning, and I'm not the last Jedi. And it was at that point that, it was kind of the last of the old Jedi from the old movies is gone. He's not needed anymore. We don't need him to carry any part of the story. Rey can do that herself now. And that's what this movie was. This movie was just one more little hit where you put the wedge in the ground and you're smacking the hammer. It's just one huge rift that just ripped. And those of us that loved the movie are fully on board with take me where you want to go. I don't care. You're gonna show me Star Wars as long as Jar Jar Binks ain't in it? I don't give a fuck. Take me in, and I'm gonna enjoy the ride. And then there's the people that are holding on to the other side of, well, what about all this stuff? Well, we always got all the info for this. It's a whole new ball game now, and that's what this movie really kind of helped push forward. And then it was, once Luke's whole projection was over, he shows back up on the island that he was on. He was wiped. He was just sweating bullets like a motherfucker. He's wiped. He crawls back up onto the rock, and he's sitting there, and he sees the sun setting, and he just kind of accepts that it's over and he's done. And his body fades away, his robes fall, a gust of wind comes and blows his robes away. And at first I was like, what the fuck is this? You can't just take Luke Skywalker and just have him disappear. And then you think about it. Yeah, you can. There was a part whenever Rey showed up, whenever she was talking about the dark side, that, or this pit that was trying to show her something. Trying to say that, you know, the force is out there, whatever, and whenever he's trying to teach her to reach out to it whenever she feels it, she makes a comment of, you don't know because you've completely closed yourself off from the force. There was only one other time that he used it, and that was to reach out and find Leia. And that's where that whole thing, where he just went, all right, and it's back off. In my head, I went, okay, maybe he struck a deal to where he would permanently give himself into the force and use it to help boost the galaxy or whatever. I mean, we don't know, because he goes from showing up to surviving a whole bunch of blasts to disappearing, and then his physical body disappearing and dying. So he became one with the force. And I was going, not the way that I would have chosen. But let me ask you this. What other Jedi went on their own terms? Every Jedi that has ever died in a Star Wars movie, even including those first 3 pieces of shit, every Jedi that died like a bitch. Every last motherfucking one of them died like a bitch. Look at Execute Order 66. And how many times Jedi was just like, oh my god, I didn't know that someone was gonna say that. Oh. And they died over and over again. Just repeatedly. Darth Maul went out like a bitch. Qui-Gon went out like a bitch. Obi-Wan gave up like a bitch. I'm going, Luke went on his own terms. He even said he went to that island to die. He even got his wish. I mean, what better way to have someone go than how they wanted to go? When they wanted to go. And it wasn't like he put a lightsaber to his chin and activated it or nothing. He just, I accept this, that my job in this mortal coil is done, and I give myself to the force. Beautifully done. Why are people hating on it? I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Parts that sucked. Space Leia, where the cockpit of the ship gets blown open, and she's the only one that survives. Somehow survives the explosion, then survives the cold vacuum of space long enough to regain consciousness and use the force to pull herself all the way back to a door? Bitch, please. Hell no. No. Eat a bucket of bitch parts. That's fucking stupid. The little porg things being baby Grooted was fucking stupid. Phasma going out twice like a bitch. Motherfucking stupid. But again, that's people getting attached to the wrong characters. Because you have the main characters and then, wow, an all silver fucking stormtrooper. That looks cool as shit. I like her. Wait, she got punked out. God damn it. Alright. Wow, Phasma's back. She went out like a bitch again. God damn it. BB-8 driving an ATST with literally no top on. Fucking stupid. I called it. As soon as I started seeing the ATSTs in there, I went, God damn it. I turned to my nephew and went, watch. Fucking BB-8's going to be in one of those. What? Not even 2 seconds later, top rips off. There's BB-8. Told you. I could predict that. I predicted Rose dying in the battering ram cannon on the salt mine planet. I was half right. And I predicted almost to the motherfucking second. Enter Luke Skywalker. There he is. It's that cliche American cinema. I think that is what hurts us because we're still attached to it. We still use it. But the cinematography in this movie, you have to watch it again. You have to pay attention. You have to really digest what's going on. And you'll enjoy it a little bit better. The little boy at the end of the movie, the very motherfucking end, when he's walking out, he's just, it's a distance of no more than about that far, but he never touches that broom handle until it's in his hand. He doesn't touch it with his fingers. He calls it to him. And then whenever he's standing there and he's looking out at the stars and something just shoots across there, he's holding that broomstick in his hand, and you see he's wearing the ring that Rose showed him earlier. And just going, when they said in the movie, our symbol alone gives people hope. And we have to keep that hope alive. And that is what the overarching theme for the last 5 films. I'm not going to, again, we don't include the prequels because the prequels are fucking garbage and pointless. But the 5 films has always been hope. You have to hold on to hope. You have to. Hope is what's going to carry you through from one spot to the next. You have to hold on to it. It's there. Just grip the motherfucker. Jerk it off and shove it up your ass and hang it until you later. And then jerk off with it again and shove it right back up again. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You hold on to hope. It's there. You just have to be brave and take those steps whenever it actually comes around. The movie was beautiful. Well, Admiral Akbar went out like a bitch. All right. Tell me when you saw Akbar not on Captain's chair in the original trilogy. Go ahead. I'll wait. That's right. You don't. Akbar was a pivotal piece during the space combats, but beyond that, he wasn't really there. And people were like, well, he went out like a bitch. And shit happens. You're so hung up on this person needs this and this person. No, they motherfucking don't. Get over yourself. I hate to say it, but you know what you sound like? A spoiled fucking child that is crying because they didn't get their way. Enjoy the movie for what it was. It was a fantastic movie. Force Awakens and The Last Jedi have been better cinematic experiences overall than the first 3 movies combined with everything squeezed out of them. You still don't get the first 10 minutes of The Last Jedi from the first 3 movies. You didn't get me to care. You didn't have funny parts. I watched them because they were there. They were shitty. And I'm watching these now, and they're great. And this one really kind of turned a corner and gave us something brand new that if you're going to be so pig-headed and childish about as to not pay attention to what's going on, you're not going to enjoy the ride like the rest of us. You don't need background. You want it. And as the Rolling Stones said, you can't always get what you want. You can't. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you not getting what you want, that it's any less fulfilling. You just got to put on a different pair of glasses to actually see what's going on. And I promise you, you will enjoy this movie. Or you did enjoy this movie. You give expectations to something, you get let down. You have yourself to blame, not the movie. It's like a customer said whenever people come in and they just get pissed off because we have to be defensive for what we offer. They're going, oh, like, what do you want us to do? These are old ass books. Some of them are in bad condition. What the fuck do you want from us? You can give it away and not get anything, or you can take our $3. You're not walking in here with a whole fucking diamond. You're not walking in here with the first Playboy. You come in here and you have an expectation. That expectation isn't met. You have only yourself to blame instead of projecting it on other things because it's their fault that you didn't get what you wanted, which is the arrogance of the American cinema culture. That's all I got to say about this. For those of you that hated it and have told me, because I've talked to you about it and said, I'll watch it again with an open mind. No, you won't. We both know you won't. You won't. Because as soon as one thing happens that triggers your ire again, you're going to go right back to where you were. It's impossible for you to sit there and watch it for the first time again and change your mind. It's impossible. The only thing I can hopefully do is just point you in different directions and let you see what I saw and how I saw it. And maybe it'll change your mind. I've heard that Kevin Smith does a fantastic review of it, and I'm going to watch it at some point. But I wanted to do my review first before watching it. And I don't think I'll do another one after watching it because it's not going to change my mind about the movie. And I'm not trying to change anybody else's mind other than just don't have such high expectations. Just like Alec told me, I went into it with really low expectations, and all I wanted was give me Star Wars. I'm good with it beyond that. Just you're giving me Star Wars, I'm okay with it. Which is why we digested the prequel and then immediately puked it back out because that's all it was worth. So, hit the likes, hit the dislikes. I don't care. What are your thoughts and opinions? I know I've rambled on for a long time, but there was a bunch of points to hit. And I don't think I forgot many things, but it does seem like they are starting to just sever the new from the old, or the known from the unknown, because all of the known stuff, whenever Empire and Jedi started the canon for the books, and then they went, nope, we're not going to follow any of that. So if that's what you were expecting, you're disappointed from the get-go. And I'm just going, all right, take me on a ride. Let's see what happens. And I'm enjoying the ride, and I hope that others will see this and at least get a different kind of pair of glasses and watch the movie again. And we'll see how things go. But yeah, comments, questions, rants, raves, fuck you, Pickle, whatever you got if you've made it this far into the rant. I hope you did. If I pissed you off at some point beforehand, I hope you say something about it then and just go on a tangent, go on a tear. I don't care. You guys know I eat that shit up. But thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, if you want me to do more movie reviews or some shit like that, let me know. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.